You're listening to DraftKings Network.
Nah, not quite.
What's up?
Sell my car on Carvana. It's just not quite the right time.
Crazy coincidence. I just sold my car to Carvana.
What? I told you about it 2 days ago.
When you know, you know. You know? I'm even dropping it off at one of those sweet car vending machines and getting paid today.
That's a good deal.
Oh, great deal. Come on. What's your heart saying?
You're right. When you know...
You know.
Sold.
Whether you're looking to sell your car right now or just whenever feels right, go to Carvana.com and sell your car the convenient way. Terms and conditions apply.
Now's a good time to remember where the story of tequila started. In 1795, the first tequila distillery was opened by the Cuervo family. And 229 years later, Cuervo is still going strong. Family owned from the start, same family, same land. Now's a good time to enjoy Cuervo, the tequila that invented tequila. Go to Cuervo.com to shop tequila or visit a store near you. Cuervo, now's a good time. Trademarks owned by Becle, SAB the CV. Copyright 2024. Proximo. Jersey City, New Jersey. Please drink responsibly.
Shadow Show.
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 Shadowing it.
I fear that I've made a couple of really terrible decisions. I see Billy limp in here after God Bless Football, and he looks a little bit tired. Stugotz looks a little bit tired, but I don't think either of them are as tired as I am. I have just landed on a red eye from California. I don't think I will ever do that again because I'm going to struggle through what it is that I'm doing today.
The red eye you're talking about.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I'm just really, I am hurting because this is not the way to do today's show. But there's another thing that I did that I think might have been an error that is also going to make today's show difficult to do because usually Monday's show, Football Monday, super easy to do. You come in here, everybody's got a lot to talk about, and you got all the college football and you got all the pro football. But I'm at a music festival, and I am promising my wife at the music festival on Friday that I'm going to be present during Pearl Jam.
Right.
I'm not going to be distracted. I'm not going to be in my phone.
In the moment.
That's correct. I'm going to try to be there with her. And the story that I have to tell you about what happened that made that difficult makes me come in today in a way that I am not properly prepared at all to do today's show. I don't know that I've ever been quite this ill-prepared to do a show in our 20 years doing this, where I just don't have enough information about what has happened in sports, even though I've tried to catch up, tried to do research and whatnot, but I cannot analyze football correctly today. I'm going to need the help of the group to walk me through some of the things that happen in football because I was so actively avoiding trying to watch football.
You made a promise to your wife. I mean,
is she happy?
Yes, she's happy, but I'm not. I'm not happy because something has been eating at me all weekend that I'm dying to know that I do not know about football. Can you guys just tell me, without giving me any of the results, what was the most interesting thing to happen over the last 3 days in all of football? If you had to choose a single thing, the most interesting thing to have happened was what?
Alabama, Georgia, for me.
Co-sign. That's one of the greatest games I've ever seen.
Yes.
Okay. Because I fear that what is going to happen today might leave me embarrassed. Okay?
You didn't watch the Packers-Vikings?
I caught
Jordan Love, 389 yards and a loss.
Wow.
That was a big one. Career high, 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
But the 3 INTs, a little worrisome.
Cost him.
Well, I saw a lot of people talking about Brian Flores, that Brian Flores is now great again.
He's good.
He is good.
He's really good.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold's really good.
Yep.
Patrick Mahomes had one of the worst sequences you'd ever see out of a starting quarterback.
4-0.
It was a disastrous sequence. More on that in a moment.
Yeah. You don't know about that?
I don't know about the disaster.
It was, I mean,
wow.
You could hypothetically put out a scenario and say, like, this is about as bad as a play could go. And I don't think you'd come up with what actually happened.
It's questionable decision making. I'd rather watch Pearl Jam than Patrick Mahomes.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
Today's episode is sponsored by DraftKings. Stay tuned because you'll hear more about DraftKings and all it has to offer throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
I have something shocking, Dan. I don't mean to cut you off before you've even started. That happened to me yesterday that I didn't realize happened, and I think it happened to me on more than one occasion. I got up and I paused Red Zone, and then I came back and I unpaused Red Zone, and I didn't realize until like 4:30 that I was watching Red Zone 30 minutes behind everyone else. So I'm having actual conversations with people about things that happened half an hour before, and they thought that I was crazy. And then I got to a point where I actually apologized to someone, and I was like, I didn't realize. I thought it was 3:30, not 4:15. I'm so behind on what's happening right now.
Okay, this is funny. That's happened to me before.
But here's the thing. Once I realized, I didn't even correct it. I'm like, we're committed. Like, we're going to ride this out because what difference does it make? In my world right now, this is where we are on Red Zone, and I don't have to catch up to everyone else so that I can just enjoy Red Zone at my pace.
There is something, though, about keeping up with things in the modern age that when you fall 30 minutes behind, you feel like you're forever behind. On very few things do we watch this way, that you have to watch it live so that you can interact with your community of people as it's happening, which brings me to why it is that I'm ill-prepared for today's show, Stugotz, because I'm not 30 minutes behind. I'm 3 days behind.
Oh,
and
wow.
And I feel lost at sea, like totally untethered from things. So this is what happened to me on Friday night. Valerie doesn't like football. She doesn't like that every time she's walking past the television, somebody is on the floor or being taken off the field, and then they just move on to the next thing. And she just doesn't like the violence of it. But she also doesn't understand why it is when we have to go somewhere and it's the 2-minute warning, and I'm like, just hold on a second, hon. We'll get out the door in a second. And those 2 minutes are football minutes. They take a long time. They're not actually 2 minutes.
Right. They're actually like 25 minutes in real time.
It's not quite that much.
It could be.
But so this is what I've promised her, okay? Because the last few years have been difficult for a number of different reasons. I have promised her that as soon as this Pearl Jam concert starts that I am at, that I will get out of my phone, okay? And I'm watching on my phone. I'm not watching television. I'm watching the University of Miami Virginia Tech game on the Gamecast, okay? So all I've got, I don't have video. I just have a screen. What are you making faces about?
How's that even possible?
What do you mean?
Like, how could you only watch it on Gamecast, but you can't watch it on your phone?
I was not watching on the ESPN app. I was not watching video. I was just watching the computer.
He could have watched it on his phone, Billy. He doesn't know how to.
So sports infidelity here. It's not cheating if,
right.
It's over the shirt.
Just watching dots.
Yeah, you're not. And I'm not watching the game. I'm just watching the game.
No,
you know what I
no.
mean?
She
it's
knew.
Not cheating.
No, she knew. I'm in my phone. Okay, the concert's about to start in 12 minutes. Okay, and my phone is on. There are 18 seconds left in the game, so I'm turning to my wife and I'm saying, "This is gonna take not very long. This is gonna take a couple of minutes, but it's 18 seconds. Virginia Tech doesn't have any timeouts, okay?"
Right.
And what ends up happening now is my phone freezes at 3 seconds with Virginia Tech on the 30-yard line of the University of Miami.
Right.
And this 3 seconds, I'm looking at my phone, it takes all 12 minutes. And now Pearl Jam is on the stage, and I'm looking at my phone, and I'm like, is it because there are so many people here? Is my internet access screwed up? It's just stuck at 3 seconds. And I'm like, honey, this is not gonna last very much longer. This is not gonna take 12 minutes. And now Eddie Vedder's on stage, and it's still stuck at 3 seconds. And as I'm looking at the phone, the texts start coming in from my friends that are just saying, "Holy shit, I can't believe this," and WTF. And now I put the phone in my pocket because Pearl Jam has started.
Right.
And I sit here now with you, not knowing the result of the game.
Really?
Because
good for you, man. You made a promise. You stuck to it.
How was Pearl Jam?
Great.
They start on time, I would imagine, right?
Right on time.
Right at 6:04, whatever time they're supposed to start, they start, and then boom, off to dinner.
You would have been okay with a late start, though. I mean, that's what you wanted.
Yes.
If we're being honest.
Yes.
When do rock stars mature to the point that they're like, we're not going to keep you waiting 2 hours. We got to go because, I have to pee in my diaper or whatever. And they're like, we got to start right on time. Is it 70? At what point do you stop being divas and you're like, let's just get in there, cash a check, get out?
Eddie Vedder's 62, I think.
Oof.
He's a young 62, though.
The opposite.
Yeah. Billy, but at music festivals, you almost have to run on time. You can't be that late to it. Unless you're Liam Gallagher, who showed up 45 minutes late, did 2 songs, and told me to go myself.
Personally?
Just like the royal we.
In general.
Sting is 72 years old, and he was great. Unbelievably
Don't stand
great.
so close to him, though, you know what I mean?
So I tried all weekend.
Hey, man.
Gave it to yourself?
You gave it to yourself? You can't give yourself.
There, I found it.
You can't do that.
It was worthy, though.
My God, you're annoying with every breath you take.
Oh, no.
Well played.
Do you know how hard it was to avoid knowing all weekend the result of the University of Miami Virginia Tech game? Because I need you guys to explain it to me. I have no idea what happened at the end of the game. I have been sitting for 3 days on the curiosity of, I'm judging from Mike's general temperament that this ended up being a good result for UM, because I don't suspect that he would look the way that he did this morning if what I thought happened, because I assumed putting the phone in my pocket. I really did assume, oh my God, a disaster has happened. Mario Cristobal happened. Virginia Tech at the end of the game went all the way down the field, and 30 yards out with 3 seconds left, they somehow won the game.
Okay, so are you at the point where you want to be informed of what happened?
I do want to know what happened, but can you imagine my frustration over the course? Can you imagine?
You must have felt so lonely.
Can you imagine me?
Jesus!
No, that's good.
He had a better one.
He did.
We're overriding. You had better jokes that were fed to you, and you went with the bad one.
Could have used a message in a bottle.
No.
That's still not it. I think he's afraid. I think he's afraid of the other one.
He is.
Yeah.
He is. And that's a layered joke, too.
Terrified of it.
No, just come on.
Just do it now.
Do the joke that we were feeding you.
Just do it now.
So you came to the Susu studio with no information?
And then the joke is that, no, Stugotz, it's Phil Collins. Idiot. And then we just keep it moving.
Right.
Well, not every little thing you do is magic, Stugotz.
But So Lonely was good. I mean, it was deserving.
No, it was not.
Mike said so himself.
No.
It was fine.
Sting was exceptional, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
I'm just floored that at 72 he could be that good.
I saw him play a show once with Shaggy. They had a collaborative album. And it was actually a pretty good album for what it was, and it was a fun show.
Mr. Lover.
You know, he's a veteran. He served in the Gulf War, Shaggy did. Desert Storm veteran.
Put it on the poll.
And his voice is not like that in real life.
I know.
Put it on the poll, Juju. Did you know that Shaggy was a veteran who served in the Gulf War? So tell me what happened, because I was expecting you guys to tell me that the University of Miami football game was more interesting than Alabama, Georgia.
That was an all-time game. We have the video here, but the long and short of it is Virginia Tech attempted a Hail Mary. It was incomplete. Game over. Miami wins.
Let's move on.
Well, it's not a
Back to business.
It's not a Hail Mary from the 30-yard line.
You know,
it was a Hail Mary.
It was a Hail Mary. As you can see here,
Right.
it goes into the end zone, incomplete. No issues were had, and Miami, pulls out a dub. It was fine.
Yep.
Nothing Nothing really to write home about.
Interception, maybe.
We've seen this end to a game countless times. A ball gets thrown into the end zone and it's incomplete on a Hail Mary attempt. And, you give credit to Virginia Tech. They play like their season was on the line. It was a hard-fought victory for Miami.
Oh, Virginia Tech celebrating. What?
Why did it take how long did all of this take? Did it take the 12 minutes I was waiting for? So everyone's just sitting around waiting for review. Was there an announcement? Somebody just came out and said, okay, game over. That's an incomplete pass?
So we're showing video right now. You're seeing a lot of things. You're seeing a lot of bodies. The one thing that you're not seeing on this video is a Virginia Tech player come up with the ball and say, I have it. However, shortly thereafter, officials throw their hands up and call Virginia Tech touchdown. The call on the field was a Virginia Tech touchdown.
Ridiculous.
They called Virginia Tech touchdown on the field.
Right.
So, yeah, everyone's shitting bricks. And we go to the replay, and it's a mass of humanity. Honestly, it's probably overthought. There's 3 guys fighting over a bouncing ball. All 3 guys are out of bounds. This is not a play. There is a brief moment if you take a still where it looks like a Virginia Tech player has the ball in his hands, but the ball comes loose and it touches an out-of-bounds player, thus making it an out-of-bounds play. The ball is dead. It's pretty simple, really, when you think about it. There was a loose ball touched by a player out of bounds. That's incomplete. But everyone had problems, and notice the main argument from a lot of folks isn't he caught the ball. It's there's not enough there to overturn the call on the field, which is, a standard inside the ACC that is questionable at best. But Virginia Tech, I understand that was a difficult loss and a difficult call to not go your way. That's a call that hasn't gone Miami's way in the past. Last year specifically with the Georgia Tech game, where the call on the field was fumble, even though everyone saw Don Chaney's elbow down and it still stayed a fumble.
Oh, no. We're going back 2 years?
No. That was last year.
That wasn't a fumble either?
The Don Chaney one against Georgia Tech where Mario didn't kneel?
Oh,
it was very clearly not a fumble, but...
Careful. We're sliding out of your back to work character.
No, we're going back to work, though. College Game Day is going to Berkeley. And the Miami Hurricanes are going to be featured on the College Game Day game of the week for a 10:30 p.m. Eastern start. We're back to work.
I'm looking at the replay here, and I also don't see enough evidence to overturn that call. I don't know I don't know if they had other angles.
They did not. It took about 50 minutes. You watched the exact same 2 angles over and over again, and then you saw that they showed the ACC replay headquarters.
It's a ragtag bunch up there, man.
God. It's Al Riveron.
Yeah,
Al Riveron's
2 people in there, and then you could see them scrambling, oh my gosh, what do we do here? They call over a manager who comes in out of nowhere, and they're just, the longer it took, the more you realize ACC is going to make sure their ACC team remains undefeated here, and they're looking for anything they can find here because it took forever to come with that decision.
Again, a totally ridiculous notion, as Miami was undefeated last year when the Georgia Tech shit went all sideways. Look, if you want to argue there isn't enough to overturn the call on the field, which was an absurd call. You can watch that a million times. The one thing that you don't see in any of those replays is a Virginia Tech player catching the ball. That's the one thing that you don't see. So it just flatly wasn't a catch, but everyone just applies a standard of, but they called it incorrectly on the field, so I guess you have to keep it. He didn't catch the ball. The ball was bouncing everywhere, and it was being touched by guys that are out of bounds. It's a dead ball, game over. I understand why you're burned by that, especially if you're Virginia Tech, who played their tails off. That is every bit the team that they were supposed to be this season. They dominated Miami's offensive line, which is a little nicked up, but still dominated them. They were the better team on the night, but when in previous years, a loss is fine. The losses find Miami in that spot, and Miami was able to survive it. And you get all the benefits of losing a game without actually having the loss to your record, and you keep this thing going.
That ball was moving the entire time. To me, it looked like the referees were just guessing in that situation.
No, but the problem is the call on the field. I mean, it is. Whether Mike wants to acknowledge it or not, the call on the field was a touchdown, and you need to reverse that is ridiculous.
Yeah, I understand. Well, I don't think it's ridiculous because, again, we watched replay. We didn't see a catch. I think you're right. The issue was a call on the field.
Yes.
I honestly, the story here is Miami almost got screwed by a terrible call on the field. In fact, at the end of that play, a Miami player comes up with the ball and is running off of it. You have more evidence that a Miami player caught that ball than a Virginia Tech player caught that ball. But then College Game Day the next day, they do this whole Zapruder film on it, and Kirk Herbstreit isolates a holding call from like the third quarter and saying, look, they got hosed on this. By the way, they called holding on the wrong player. If you watch that same video that Kirk Herbstreit's saying, that's not a hold, look at the other player. They just misidentified the player. But look, there were bad calls that entire game.
Holder, you're saying.
There were bad calls that entire game. Miami had a terrible holding call on a game on a play that would have made that game 21-7, and we're off and running. And Virginia Tech is dead there. They get a pick on the very next play, and Miami's in a dogfight the rest of the way. Probably not the right school to say dogfight with.
My working theory on this, Dan, since you didn't see it, was the officials were like, oh, I don't know what happened. We'll just call it a touchdown, and then they'll review it, and then we'll figure out what happened afterwards. And they were hoping there'd be clearer video that there wasn't.
That sounds like it makes sense to me based on what it is that you guys are showing me here, because I'm having an instantaneous reaction to this.
Someone else can figure this one out.
That is 100% what happened, and there's a lot of bad faith debaters out there that are saying, like Stugotz, but that was a call on the field. Let's just say something and take this to replay so we can get something a little bit more definitive. Now, it's a tough play. It's a massive humanity out there, but the one thing that you very clearly don't see in this video is a Virginia Tech player catching that ball, securing it all the way down, and scoring a touchdown. It's just not something that you see. Everybody fighting for that ball is out of bounds. If one of those players touches it while they're out of bounds, the ball is out of bounds. It's a dead play. The majority of the bodies are out there. You got like an ankle and two knees that are in bounds. It was absurd. Terrible call.
If it was a Canes player, you'd see the catch. I mean,
that's fair.
But I figure out a way to see the catch.
I think I've been fair, guys. Like I'm being fair here.
Brent Pry cost Virginia Tech that game.
He did. That was a terrible field goal.
When you get a chance to put up points, you put up points.
Yeah.
What are we getting cute for?
Well said.
Also, not enough is being said about how bad those polos are. That Hokie is horrific. I don't know how they approved it. Terrible mascot to begin with, but the fact that they have a little cartoon turkey head on their little polos, horrific. You're dressed for failure. You're not dressing for success there, Dan.
Help me understand what the general reaction was when people started fighting about this, because what you're getting from me is a 3-day-old take that is totally fresh because I'm witnessing this for the first time. You know, I went to the University of Miami. You know, I want the University of Miami to be good. But if you call that a touchdown, and all I'm seeing again and again in the replay is sort of like maybe he landed on his ass with the ball, I don't know, but you called it a touchdown, and then you go to the replay, and the replay doesn't show me something that indicates, well, you've disproven that it's a touchdown, even as what you say is true, which is that everyone is out of bounds. I can't.
Well, that's kind of a big one there, Dan, though. Like, you're saying that two sides out of your mouth right now. You're saying, I don't see anything, but I see
everybody's out of bounds, but his ass is still in bounds, and his ass landed first, and his ass may have landed with the ball, and the referees did call it in.
No, see, right there, 43 is landing. He has more possession of the ball when they're falling down. He falls down out of bounds. The ball is dead. I understand this was a debate. This was a hot topic, and very clearly people wanted Miami to lose that game, and everybody applies a standard of, well, the call on the field. It was a bad call on the field that they didn't call until like 20 seconds after that sequence.
But it was the call on the field. Dan is right. It was the call on the field. It might have been a bad call on the field, but it was the call on the field.
Right. So what happens when there's a bad call on the field, Stugotz? They go to replay and they find out proof to find out what the right call should be here, and they made the right call. You can talk to me till you're blue in the face. It wasn't a catch.
Why are you so defensive? You're 4-0.
I've had 3 days of
Cam Ward looks good.
No, Mike.
Did you see the Cam Ward play? Yeah, there's your phone not working for that.
He needs to knock it off with the turnovers.
Hold on.
Yeah.
You didn't see the Cam Ward play?
No.
Oh. On a 3rd and 3, he has a wide open Isaiah Horton, and he sails the ball over his head.
Mm-hmm.
Not that one.
The very next play, Xavier Restrepo falls down in his route.
No, not that one either.
And it was a 4th down. I think your season's on the line here. Restrepo catches the ball while that's somebody catching while on his ass.
Not that play.
And then he is caught. Miami's offensive line, they go up against the nation's leading sack getter. The backup left tackle, has some poor moments, but they get pressure. This is more pressure than Cam Ward has faced his entire time in Miami by a long shot. And they get home on the quarterback. Quarterback makes a Patrick Mahomes type flip play. just great instincts, flips it over to his tight end, Riley Williams, who catches the ball and then runs 35 yards after breaking an initial tackle. It was a massive play. The Restrepo play and the Williams play in particular were magical plays. It was we should say this because I could feel my blood boiling in ways that it hasn't all season long. This game was incredible. Start to finish, it was a standalone game. Everybody was into it, and that's why everybody has opinions about it, because this game delivered. You had Patrick Mahomes tweeting about the game. It was a fantastic game. A terrible game to watch on Gamecast, I imagine.
Not great. I do want to understand a little bit better, though, because you can imagine my confusion the way that I experienced this. Please tell me how much time elapsed between a stadium full of people seeing, because yes, this is the part that I want to examine, because
it's the only part you care about.
Well, we've gotten into the minutia of something that people have been arguing about, I'm sure, for 3 days, and I've avoided somehow all the arguments. It's been blissful, actually. It was a blissful tranquility to be away from the internet in this way and to only be watching little splatters of football here and there where I knew that game wasn't going to be talked about. So I can tune in to Packers Vikings for a little bit here.
That was a good one.
And feel pretty good about the fact that the UM result isn't going to be on the screen so that I can come in here confused and you guys could explain it to me. I really want to understand if you guys have ever seen, because this part's being ignored, it seems like to me. Have you guys ever seen what it seems like you're describing to me without talking about it, which is touchdown on the field? Everyone is standing around in a stadium saying, Mario, you stink. Fire Mario. You're clearly better than this team.
They in the stadium seemed to be completely unaware that any of this was going on because they were doing like the light show or whatever. They were celebrating as though the game was over, like they had won.
They were following the players.
Yeah, they didn't even know that Virginia Tech had been given a touchdown as a result of that.
We didn't notice that at first because it took quite some time for the officials to throw their arms up there. So you have... the entire game is a great rivalry, by the way. Shame on the ACC for saying that this wasn't a protected rivalry. They corrected that. And these teams play annually. The entire game, Dan, they're going back and forth doing the Cam Ward mocking celebration to us. So the Miami player runs out of that massive humanity with the ball. The light show starts going, and you breathe a deep sigh of relief. I look at Cynthia, my wife, next to me. She's like, I think he caught that. I'm like, how can you say anything there? And then shortly thereafter, the call on the field is touchdown, arms go up, and the sideline for Virginia Tech erupts. Now, whenever there's a controversial play, I always look to the sideline and the opposing coaches to see what they're being told in their headsets to see if there's a reason for conviction on the sideline. I tell you, brother, that sideline was confident. They thought they had it. And then as time goes on, you have in the stadium, to us, it seems pretty obvious because we don't have the commentators telling us what's happening there. But apparently on the national broadcast, Andre Ware was like, you can't overturn the call on the field. There's nothing here to overturn the call on the field, which is pretty much, even Stugotz, the standard that everybody is upholding here, which is not that it was a catch. It's just you can't overturn the call on the field.
But take me through, just real quick, and I'll leave this alone after this. Take me through whether a game has ever ended this way with a stadium full of people watching in terms of a delay between the game's over. I don't know who's caught it. He caught it. There was a signal of a touchdown. And then how much time is going by before they say, never mind, incomplete? So you have people, standing around for 15 minutes?
It was like an hour. It was a very long review.
Yeah.
It
took forever.
It was an eternity.
So wait a minute. You're telling me that this ended. So when I put my phone in my pocket to be present with my wife, you're telling me what I've missed is a game that has ended in a way that no game has ever ended that we've ever watched in the era of instant replay. That's what you guys are just blowing past? That what I put in my back pocket is an ending like none other in the history of sports.
There was a band on the field at one time. I mean, remember that one?
There was a band on the field, and the University of Miami also lost the national championship with fireworks in the sky because a call overturned it. But it wasn't 20 minutes. It wasn't 20 minutes with a stadium full of people just waiting around for a touchdown that wasn't a touchdown to be called an incompletion.
Guarantee you Pearl Jam had a concert the same day as the band on the field.
Hey folks, it's Mike Ryan, and as you know, it is football season. We all love it. We like going to the games too. Well, if you like going to the games like I do, if you like traveling for football games, both pro and college, do yourself a favor and download the Game Time app. Game Time has a new exciting feature called Game Time Picks, and it makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Do it for yourself. Pick an upcoming game on the app, browse through the seats. I guarantee you'll find great deals, you'll find panoramic seat views, you'll find all-in pricing with just one click. That way you're not surprised by the final price, and also you get Game Time's ticket coverage and the low price guarantee. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DAN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code DAN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time.
Dan Le Batard.
We didn't get to your guys' against the
You're
spread.
right. Yeah.
I don't have it against the spread because I wasn't prepared for this segment.
You need an Ian in your life.
You have actively played defense against me today in a way that has rarely been this undercutting.
Stugotz.
Defense wins championships, baby. That's show business.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
This segment has a great deal of potential to be exceptional or potential to be a total catastrophe.
Yes. But if it is, Dan, that's on us. It is not on the guest.
That
it will
is
be
correct.
on me and you.
That is correct.
Right,
And
yes.
Billy, because Billy is delighted right now sitting in that seat of everything that's happening. Has a great deal of potential to be exceptional or potential to be a total catastrophe.
Yes.
But
if it is, Dan,
Yeah, it sounds like option.
It looks like we need to turn that down. So this is the segment that we're trying to do. Billy is in charge, and he's smiling a great deal because this is what he wants to happen. And I don't know why he wants this to happen, but Jay Hook and Craig Anderson are with us, and they're here to celebrate. They are, of the 9 living members of the 1962 New York Mets, they're the only 2 who played the entire season, the only guys who were there to lose all 120 games. And this is a big time for them because the White Sox are now, in our most historic sport, officially worse than the 1962 Mets were. They used to be the worst team in baseball history by record. But I don't think Craig Anderson has used Zoom before. And he's joining us through Zoom and through the phone of one of our producers. Jay Hook, for some reason, is a Zoom veteran.
Oh, yes.
Like, he knows exactly what he's doing right now. He is polished and ready to go. Look, he has got a visual aid for us of a Mets cap. So we will say hello, gentlemen, to both of you, Craig and Jay, and congratulations. We are very happy for you. Did you spend the entire weekend, Jay, buoyant and effervescent because finally your names can leave the record book? There is a worse baseball team in baseball history than the 1962 Mets.
Well, I did watch the White Sox and the Tigers play. Where I live on a farm in northern Michigan, and we so we weren't down at the games, but that's the only station I can really get on our TV is the the Detroit Tigers games. So fortunately, the White Sox played 3 in Detroit and won a couple, but they lost 1, which put them at 121, which was one better than the 120 that we had. And I have to tell you, the Detroit Tigers lost 119 in 2003. So there's a 119, there's a 120, and there's a 121 now. So you can see anybody could do it.
Well, you guys played only 160, right? You were 40 and 120. You feel like the White Sox cheated here to get the record? They had an extra 2 games.
Right.
That's true. And we had 2 rainouts, and Casey, I think, probably said, I don't think we need to worry about making those 2 games up.
Now, Craig, can you hear us? Were you celebrating at all this weekend? Were you keeping track of what it is that was happening this weekend?
Yes, I've been keeping track for about 2 weeks, yes.
And how have you felt as you've watched it? Did the White Sox scare you a little bit by winning 3 straight out of nowhere?
I think you're right about one thing. I thought this was going to be over sooner than it was. But yes, I'm very happy that the Met fans are relieved of the record.
And Jay, how were you rooting during these games you were watching? Were you fixated and were you actively rooting for the White Sox to lose?
No, I was just watching. After 62 years of holding that record, it didn't make much difference. And as Craig has said many times, and I've said many times, I didn't feel we kept track of those back then the way that you keep track of them now. We knew we weren't a very good team, but I don't think, the players and the fans, it was always that next game we're going to win. And I think the players felt that way.
How about you, Craig? Was your opinion any different? Were you rooting for the White Sox to lose?
I like Jake said, we were losing games, but there wasn't anything about the record. That didn't happen. We were a first-year team, and we're doing the best we can. So we knew we were having a bad season, but they weren't comparing us to anybody else at that time. So at the end of the season, I think they had a meeting and decided that they're going to make ours the worst ever, and that's how it started. I think we just were glad. We tried to do the best we could, but when it was over, and onward and upward till next season.
Now, Jay, in 1962, you were 8-19, while Craig was only 3-17. So I'll ask you, Jay, who do you feel was more responsible for the record of 120 losses?
I think probably everyone was. We weren't hitting too well, and the pitching was sporadic, and the fielding wasn't too great either. So it was the whole team effort, I guess.
Jay, you're being too nice. You're being a team player. Say it was Craig. I mean, come on. We all know it was Craig.
They're good teammates. Craig may have been 3-17, but Craig, you somehow won 2 of those games in the same day. Tell me about that day where you were 3-17, but you won 2 of the games in the same day.
I just happened to be the right guy in the game at the right time.
There you go.
2 clutch hits in the 9th inning of both games, and I had pitched the 8th and the 9th of each game, or at least I think that's what it was. And then Bill Hodges hit a homer, and Hobie Landreth hit a homer in the bottom of the 9th. And so there we were, off and running. And our record got better right about that time, too. And we thought we were not going to go into a tailspin like we did later.
Seems like you guys are saying you got bad run support that year, if I'm reading between the lines here.
13 by 1 run.
Wait a minute. Who was that?
Who said that?
Who was that? Who was 13 losses? Who said 13 losses by 1 run? Whose wife is that?
Must have been Craig's. Probably Judy.
Judy, bring her in. Was Judy there for the ride in 1962?
Phrasing.
Dan.
Come on.
Dan.
What?
Hey, I led the league in unearned runs being on my record.
That's right.
Your darndest thing.
Your teammates let you down.
Yep.
Your teammates. Now, after you won those 2 games in the same day, though, Craig, you went on to lose 19 straight decisions, albeit in a hitter's park. Those last 2 wins were the last wins of your career, correct?
That was the problem. It was unfair. It was a hitter's park. I mean,
we came close a few times. It just didn't work out.
I love how supportive Judy is in the background. It's so good. Jay, what do you remember about that season that you would say was the most positive thing about that season?
Well, in 2003, the Tigers were losing a lot of games, and the LA Times asked me to write an op-ed piece for their paper. And I wrote this article, and the title of it was something like, "In Baseball or Life, there's a new game tomorrow until the end of the season." And I've always felt that the players didn't lose, hope of winning. I really felt that they they came out every day, and we may have lost the day before, but it was a new game, and we had a chance to win it. And I felt the attitude was that way with the players. I thought that attitude, the fans in New York were absolutely terrific. And we had Casey Stengel as a manager. And after every game in when we were at the Polo Grounds, he would call. There were probably 12 papers in New York, and or something more, maybe, or less. But every paper had a sports writer, and he would call those sports writers into his office. He knew they were the vehicle to reach the fans, and he would tell them stories. He'd give them something to drink, and he'd tell them stories in the past. He'd tell them stories about the game, something funny that may have happened during the game or whatever. And when they left his office, they had their 12 inches of column filled, and he made their job, probably a little more palatable. And so he that really was, I think, very helpful for the team. Whereas in 2003, with Alan Trammell as manager, he'd been a really good player, but he hadn't managed, and that was his only year of managing, I think. So, it really probably affected his career. But Casey had won, I think, 10 pennants or something with the Yankees, so nothing was going to, tear him down. He'd been successful. And the thing Craig and I have both talked about is that there were so many players on that team that these losses didn't define their life. They went on to other things. Richie Ashburn became a famous announcer in Philadelphia. Roger Craig became a pitching coach, and then he managed, I think, one of the teams out in California and had a pennant. Gil Hodges ended up managing the Mets when they won the pennant in 1969. So there were a lot of players that went on. Craig went on to Lehigh, back where he graduated. I did a bunch of things after baseball. And so it didn't define our life. And I think that was positive.
Craig, Jay told us before that he only gets the White Sox channel, so I'm wondering if you've been keeping up with the Mets. They have a twin bill.
The Tigers channel.
Yeah,
is
the
the
Tigers
only one
channel. Sorry,
yes,
yeah. So I'm wondering if you're keeping up with the Mets. They have a twin bill against the Bravos today for the playoffs on the line. You guys watching the Mets at all? Okay.
Craig, that was for you. Did you hear his question?
I didn't. No, I didn't quite hear it.
He said that the Mets have a doubleheader today
twin
against
bill
the
is what he
Braves.
said. Yeah,
Thank you, Mr. Stugotz. I appreciate the support.
Yeah.
Yes.
A twin bill they have today for a playoff spot. Are you going to be watching?
Yes. Can I add something to what Jay said?
Yes.
At the end of the year, like in the White Sox stands and other losing team stands, empty seats here, empty seats there. When we had the end of our season, we still had 12, 15, 20,000 people in the stands.
You tell them.
It was a big difference between the fans sticking with us to the end until the season was over, as opposed to the White Sox fans, dropping them. You could tell. And then I think that I look back on that as our fans were fantastic. They held us. They came out all season long, win or lose. And I think Jay and I will both say that had a lot to do with us sticking together as a team and doing the best we could.
Jay, what do you remember about the game you never finished? The game ended early. It was a tie because of curfew.
I don't remember that at all.
Really? Really?
All right, gentlemen, I don't know if you have champagne there, but we'd like to make a toast from Jimmy Breslin. I'm going to quote Jimmy Breslin here. Let's make a toast here to celebrate the fact that the 62 Mets are no longer the worst. I'm going to quote Jimmy Breslin, the famous writer in New York. Quote, "You see, the Mets are losers just like nearly everybody else in life. This is a team for the cab driver who gets held up and the guy who loses out on a promotion because he didn't maneuver himself to lunch with the boss enough. It is the team for every guy who has to get out of bed in the morning and go to work for short money on a job he does not like. And it is the team for every woman who looks up 10 years later and sees her husband eating dinner in a t-shirt and wonders how the hell she ever let this guy talk her into getting married. The Yankees, who does well enough to root for them? Lawrence Rockefeller, a toast to the 1962 Mets.
Yes.
No longer the worst team ever. Congratulations, gentlemen.
Way to go, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Wow.
That's very exciting. Oh, good Lord, Craig. You swing that down. Craig.
Oh my God, Craig. Take it easy.
An aggressive
twin bill today.
Aggressive toast from Craig. Thank you, gentlemen. That was delightful. We appreciate you. Mike, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Mike, getting Craig on the Zoom, did it remind you of all the work during the pandemic that you did with Bob Costas and Stephen A. Smith and everyone else trying to get them on the Zoom?
Those Mets were way better at that than Bob Costas.
After a giant football weekend, I really love that we just did that right there.
That's important work. That was really good.
Yeah. I mean, come on. What, are you kidding me? Like that team, that was a team for all time. My parents, 7 years later, they won the World Series. 7 years later because of what those guys built in that city.
They laid the foundation.
They did lay the foundation.
For the 69 Mets, huh?
You know what? I need to take a break right now to gather myself. Let's just take a break for a second. I'm lightheaded. I'm so excited. I can't believe how quickly Craig shoveled down that champagne. We're back after this.
Hey folks, it's Mike Ryan, and as you know, it is football season. We all love it. We like going to the games too. Well, if you like going to the games like I do, if you like traveling for football games, both pro and college, do yourself a favor and download the Game Time app. Game Time has a new exciting feature called Game Time Picks, and it makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Do it for yourself. Pick an upcoming game on the app, browse through the seats. I guarantee you'll find great deals, you'll find panoramic seat views, you'll find all-in pricing with just one click. That way you're not surprised by the final price, and also you get Game Time's ticket coverage and the low price guarantee. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DAN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code DAN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time.
Now's a good time to remember where the story of tequila started. In 1795, the first tequila distillery was opened by the Cuervo family. And 229 years later, Cuervo is still going strong. Family owned from the start, same family, same land. Now's a good time to enjoy Cuervo, the tequila that invented tequila. Go to Cuervo.com to shop tequila or visit a store near you. Cuervo, now's a good time. Trademarks owned by Becle, SAB, the CV. Copyright 2024. Próximo. Jersey City, New Jersey. Please drink responsibly.